Hello everybody and welcome back to my Civilization 6 final Civ ranking video, where we will be ranking the bottom half. The next tier of civs have been classified as the silver tier civs. These are civs that can be situationally but mediocre if played otherwise. And the first one that we're going to talk about is Brazil, led by Pedro.
Bom dia. É uma honra conhecê-lo pessoalmente.
Brazil fits this mold perfectly, as some of its abilities can be game-changing, the first of which is Pedro's ability, Magnanimous. This allows Brazil to keep 20% of the cost after recruiting great people. This actually becomes very useful when the great people become so expensive, and normally you wouldn't be able to get any of them back to back. Playing as Brazil gives you a shot at any great person that you might desire. It's a fantastic ability and ranks in 13th place on my list. Brazil also has 2 unique districts, however they only get the points for one of them as they replace each other. The Street Carnival replaces the entertainment complex, while the Copacabana replaces the water park district. You need to either build one or the other. They both have very similar abilities, however. The Street Carnival provides +2 amenities and allows Brazil to start the Carnival project, which gives a variety of great people points once completed. This synergizes quite well with Pedro's ability, focusing on great people. However, I just don't think that the project will be that necessary, as Brazil doesn't really need a lot of extra help when it comes to recruiting them. The Copacabana does exactly the same thing, but is almost completely useless, as you would have to wait a lot later game to build it. Brazil does have the strongest naval unique unit in the game, however, the Minas Gerais. This is a replacement for the battleship, to which it is much stronger than, but the real benefit of the Minas Gerais is that it is unlocked through the civic tree of nationalism much before the rest of the game gets battleships using steel. Overall, Brazil is quite a strong civ, but the real reason why they rank so low is their special ability. This allows rainforest tiles to provide +1 adjacency bonuses for pretty much all of the major districts, and grants +1 appeal to adjacent tiles instead of the usual -1. So why is it so terrible? Well, pretty simple. +1 adjacency bonus isn't exactly game-changing, and if you happen to start a game as Brazil and there isn't that much rainforest, you have no advantages whatsoever. You also cannot build districts on rainforest until you gain the civic that allows you to cut them down. It's such a situational ability that I have it ranked dead last. Brazil, however, is an extremely powerful culture civ, ranking 3rd on the list, and a 3.5-star synergy bonus. However, it is a little bit surprising that there is no additional bonuses to religious victory when playing as Brazil. The next silver tier civ on the list is Mongolia, led by Genghis Khan. Mongolia's Otoro ability means that starting a trade route immediately creates a trading post in the destination city. You receive a higher level of diplomatic visibility, which usually is completely useless, however only partially useless when playing as Mongolia, as all Mongolian units double the usual combat bonuses for having a higher level of diplomatic visibility. This does mean that you have to prioritize trade routes early on, and does provide a small amount of combat bonuses, but overall it's a lot of wording for not very much. Things don't get that much better for Mongolia when it comes to their unique building, the Ordu. This grants +1 movement to heavy and light cavalry units trained in the city, along with 25% combat experience for all cavalry and siege units. Combat experience, however, can be gained pretty easily in the game, and 25% isn't exactly a wow to start off with, and extra movement is completely overrated. The only real benefit of the Ordu is that strategic resource stockpiles are increased by +10, which again is a minor bonus. The Mongolian unique unit is the Keshig, which is a medieval era ranged cavalry unit, perfect for escorting settlers, as it allows them to move at its extremely high movement speed, and it's a fun unit to play with. However, enjoying the Keshig doesn't hide the fact that overall it's a pretty average unique unit. So what really stands out for Mongolia is Genghis Khan's unique ability, This ability alone makes Mongolia a very powerful domination civ. All cavalry class units gain +3 combat strength and a chance to capture enemy cavalry class units. Oh, this is so good. When playing as Mongolia, you should usually go for a domination victory. However, they also receive a small boost for a diplomatic victory, with a few bonuses towards diplomatic visibility. Mongolia is a civ like none other. With a 4-star synergy rating, it could easily be ranked higher on the list. Now, some of you might have been waiting for this next civ for quite a long time. I have seen Scythia inside the top 10 on many people's list. And I have to admit, I was surprised to find it this far down. Scythia's first ability allows all units to receive a +5 combat strength when attacking wounded units. And when a unit is eliminated, they heal up to 30 hit points. Anytime a unit can heal after attacking, it's going to be a big bonus in my books. The other incredible ability that Scythia has, you receive a second cavalry unit or Saka horse archer each time that you train one. The Venetian arsenal can be quite powerful as you get 2 naval ships for the price of 1. But getting 2 cavalry for the price of 1? Holy moly! This is the best civ ability in the game. So before anybody attacks me for my ranking of Scythia on this list, please make a note that I understand how powerful this civ can be. The main reason why they are ranked so low on my list, their unique unit is the Saka horse archer. And after doing my research, I have concluded it is absolutely terrible. It is a ranged unit with a range of 1. And unlike the Cossack, it cannot move after attacking. The only reason why Scythia is considered so strong in the game is because you are getting 2 of these terrible units for the price of 1. I honestly would never ever build it. I would focus solely on building horsemen, as you still get the 2-for-1 advantage with that unit, and just scrap the Saka horse archer altogether. Another thing that you should never really focus building is the Kurgan. This is a unique builder ability that allows +1 faith and +3 gold. The +3 gold, I have to admit, is nice. However, the fact that it provides faith is of almost no use to Scythia, and to double down on this, it also provides tourism. It's just another one of the buildings that just doesn't synergize in any way whatsoever. Scythia should be used as one thing and one thing only, which is a powerful domination cavalry based civ. I have them ranked as the 6th most powerful domination civ in the game. However, trying to win any other type of victory is going to be quite a challenge. Canada recently received a nice little buff in the latest patch update, and it was well needed as they were ranked number 45 on my list before it. And Canada does have some good things going for it. Wilfrid Laurier's ability allows farms to be built on tundra terrain, and eventually they can also be built on tundra hills. All mines on similar tundra terrain receive +2 production, along with lumber mills. Camps and farms provide +2 food, and finally the cost to purchase these terrain types is halved. Although none of these abilities in itself are game changing, there is so much there. Canada's other strong ability allows them to construct the ice hockey rink. This as well has a wad of benefits that include an extra amenity, an extra culture for adjacent snow and tundra tiles. It provides tourism and +2 food and production later game, and +4 culture if adjacent to a stadium building. You should never build an ice hockey rink that is not next to a stadium. The ice hockey rink is actually one of the best builder abilities in the game, believe it or not. Playing as Canada, you can assume, is all about peace, and you'd be correct. They cannot declare city-state or surprise wars, and also cannot be declared on with a surprise war. Canada is also the number 1 powerhouse for a diplomatic victory, as for every tourism per turn, you receive an extra diplomatic favor, as well as 100% diplomatic favor from successfully completing emergency competitions. The real reason why this ability is ranked so low is the simple fact of not being able to declare surprise wars, or ever being able to attack city-states. As a result, Canada is easily the worst civ to play as if you are hoping for a domination victory. Another reason why Canada is not designed to be a domination threat is its unique unit, the Mountie. This unit does have +5 combat strength when fighting within 2 tiles of a national park. However, its real useful ability is the fact that it can build national parks. I'm not really sure how to rank it, as it isn't really best used as a militaristic unit. It's basically an upgrade of the Naturalist. Overall, Canada is a very two-dimensional civ that can either be used for a diplomatic or culture victory, but it does have some subtle hidden abilities. I would make sure that you read all of their abilities carefully to best utilize them. Next on the list is Portugal, led by King João III.
Pela graça de Deus, nós somos João, rei de Portugal.
Portugal's unique ability is based around trade routes. Trade routes can only be sent from coast to coast, however they do receive +50% towards all yields. The +50% is nice. There is a small negative, however, which is that only internal trade routes can be sent across land. So while this is useful, it isn't exactly game changing. Portugal's unique unit is the Now. This replaces the Caravel and starts with 1 free promotion and has less maintenance. Considering those 2 facts alone, the Now is a very weak unique unit. It comes at a period of the game where naval warfare is at its least effective point and is no stronger than the Caravel. Things, however, are about to get complicated because the Now does have the ability to build 2 Feitorias. The Feitoria is an absolutely fantastic building. It provides +4 gold and +1 production. This allows you to get production from other people's cities. This is unheard of. It is game changing. You can pop these all over the globe and stack the abilities onto each other, and once you send trade routes to them, the yields are basically doubled. The navigation school, it does provide 25% production towards naval units in the city, but the real benefit is it provides +1 science for every 2 coastal or lake tiles in the city. Sprinkle in an extra Great Admiral and Great Scientist point per turn, and you have a pretty good unique building that ranks 23rd on my list. Finally, to finish Portugal off, King João's ability allows all units to receive 1 site and +1 trade capacity when a civilization is met. These abilities are almost both completely rendered useless and will not be the reason that you play as Portugal. Portugal is a scientific based civ that can be used as a strong domination civ on a naval warfare map, however doesn't provide a lot of benefits to either a religious or cultural game. 32nd on the list is Congo, led by Mbemba, and they start off pretty strong with one of the best civ abilities in the game. Nkisi allows +2 food and production, +1 faith, and +4 gold from each relic, artifact, sculpture, and great work of art, in addition to the usual culture bonus. This itself is a fantastic late game ability that allows Congo to finish off strong, specifically in culture. They also receive 50% more great artist, great musician, and great merchant points, and extra great work slots in the palace. This ability alone allows Congo to move right into 2nd place in my top culture-based civs. Their unique unit, the Ngao Mbeba, replaces the swordsman and provides a +10 combat strength when defending against ranged attacks. They can move and see through woods and rainforest, however it's only marginally stronger than the swordsman, which ranks it 27th on my list. The Mbanza district also has an average ranking simply because it is a replacement for the neighborhood district, which usually should not be prioritized. It is available earlier and it is cheaper to build and provides +5 housing, +2 food, and +4 gold. These actually make the neighborhood district worth building when playing as Congo, which if anything is more of a problem, as it's an extra thing that you need to prioritize late game. The real reason why Congo is not a powerhouse, however, is that they may not build holy site districts, gain great profits, or found religions. This immediately puts them in last place for a religious victory, as it is physically impossible. They do gain all the beliefs of any religion that is established in the majority of its cities, and he receives an apostle each time he finishes a Mabamza or Theta Square district. However, at the end of the day, you're still going to be spreading somebody else's religion, and ranks right near the bottom on my list of abilities. The simple inability of being able to found a religion means Congo is immediately flawed, and although it tries to capture this back up through benefits, two wrongs don't always make a right. They are a challenge to play as. Next on the list is England, led by Queen Victoria.
We are, by the grace of God, Victoria, Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland.
England's ability, Workshop of the World, means that iron and coal mines accumulate 2 more resources per turn. Production towards military engineers is doubled, don't care about that. Military engineers receive +2 charges, really don't care about that. Next, buildings that provide additional yields when powered receive +4 of that yield. Not interested. Next. And 20% production towards industrial zone buildings. So England has a lot going for it. Unfortunately, none of it is quite that good. England ranks as a mediocre civ just by sheer volume alone. England's unique unit is the Sea Dog, and it is a dog. The reason why it is not very good is that it replaces the privateer, and privateers are one of the things that I refuse to talk about on these videos. She can capture enemy ships, but overall the Sea Dog is one of the worst unique units in the game. England's ranking is salvaged by the simple fact of volume, because they have a second unique unit, the Redcoat. The Redcoats are actually a very powerful unit. It provides +10 combat strength when fighting on a different continent than your capital, and can allow England to dominate, albeit for a very short stretch in the mid-game. England's unique district is the Royal Navy Dockyard. Other than movement and disembarking and embarking advantages, which is another thing that I refuse to talk about on videos, the only advantage that the Royal Navy Dockyard has is +2 gold and +4 loyalty per turn when built on a foreign continent. Finally is Victoria's Pax Britannica ability, which at first sounded so good. Being able to receive a free melee unit and trade route capacity when founding a city on a different continent really does sound intriguing, especially when one of those units later game becomes the Redcoat. However, it is not every time that you found a city, it is only the first time that you found a city on each continent. However, it also does allow the Royal Navy Dockyard to grant a copy of the strongest naval unit every time it is built. Once again, it's really volume over strength. All of these abilities put together potentially make England as a later game domination victory civ.
War? We are not amused.
34th on the list is India, led by Gandhi.
नमस्कार, मैं मोहनदास गांधी हूँ। मेरे लोग मुझे बापू कहते हैं।
Gandhi's ability allows +5 faith for each civilization that they have met that has founded a religion, providing they are not at war. This bonus can stack up quite nicely once all the religions have been founded, and you can clearly see that India's strength is going to be on a religious victory. Opposing civilizations also receive double the war wariness for fighting against Gandhi, but this is not really an effect that you will ever notice when playing as him. India's ability receives follower belief bonuses in a city from each religion that has at least one follower. Cities gain an amenity for every religion with at least one follower. Missionaries have +2 spreads, and 100% religious pressure from your trade routes. These all sound like good abilities, however half of them don't really synergize with India's religious victory goal. Allowing other religions to spread in your territory isn't something I usually care about when going from religious victory, but the +2 missionary spreads and the 100% trade route pressure, that I can get on board with. However, the real problem with India is that if you're not going for a religious victory, these first two abilities are not very useful. India's unique unit is the very powerful Varu. It is a classical era heavy cavalry unit and should be targeted every single time as early as possible when playing as India. It provides a 5 combat strength loss to adjacent enemy units and is the most dominant unit in the classical era. It used to be ranked further down the list, but recent fixes now allow the Varu to upgrade earlier than tanks, and that makes it the second most powerful unit in the game. Finally, India's unique builder ability is to build the step well. This provides +1 food and housing, +1 faith if adjacent to a holy site district, and an extra +1 food if adjacent to a farm. The stepwell kind of summarizes India as a whole. Their abilities make them a dominant religious victory civ. However, then other than a little bit of food, the only other real bonus that India has towards a different type of victory is the Varu. That being said, playing India as a domination victory is incredibly fun. Next on the list is personally my favorite civ in the game. It is the Maori, led by Kupe.
Ko kupe pō kai moa nau. Kai te whakatata mai koe ki tō te Māori nohonga.
The Maori are the only civilization that begins the game in an ocean tile. This allows them to think more carefully before settling their first city, and more importantly, they don't really fall behind or lose ground whilst taking this time, as they receive +2 science and culture per turn before settling the city, and once the city is settled, they gain +1 population, +3 housing and amenity, and crucially, a free builder unit. This ability can be very powerful, as it gives the Maori the perfect start to any game when played correctly. The Maori's unique building is the Mare. This provides +1 culture and faith to all the city's tiles with a passable feature or natural wonder. A passable feature would be anything except mountains. You do also receive +1 tourism after flight is researched. However, the building has no great work slots, and with only +1 culture, faith and tourism, it isn't that good. Their unique unit is the Toa. Similar to the Varu, adjacent enemy units receive a 5 combat strength loss. However, that's where the similarities to the Varu end for the Toa. It's not a bad unit, as it is fairly early game, but it certainly isn't anywhere near game changing enough. The Toa can also construct the Pa. This allows occupying units to receive +4 defense strength and automatically gains 2 turns of fortification. A Maori unit occupying a Pa also heals even if they've just moved or attacked. So it is an upgrade of the fort. And while all those things seem nice, forts just aren't something that are very useful in Civilization 6. And finally, the Maori begin the game with sailing and shipbuilding technologies. This allows them the ability to enter ocean tiles immediately, which is game changing when it comes to exploration, going after tribal camps, and helps drastically with era score for locating natural wonders before anybody else. Also, unimproved woods and rainforest give +1 production. Fishing boats also provide +1 food and a culture bomb to adjacent tiles. However, resources cannot be harvested and great writers cannot be earned. That provides a bit of a problem because the Mare is a building that is based towards a culture victory. It puts the Maori as the worst civ to win a culture victory and makes their unique building, the Mare, almost completely pointless. That's why the Maori get a whopping 0-star synergy rating, and although they are great fun to play as in the first 100 turns, afterwards there's no real benefit to any of the victory types. Next on the wee list is Scotland. Sorry, that was terrible.
Eki am Robert Bruce. Scotland may fall with.
Scotland begin the game with the Scottish Enlightenment ability. This allows happy cities to receive an extra 5% science, 5% production, +1 great scientist point per turn per campus district, and +1 great engineer point per turn for each industrial zone. So right away you can see that keeping citizens happy when playing as Robert the Bruce can have many benefits. The real kicker of this is that ecstatic cities double all of these amounts. The 10% science and production really do add up nicely. However, it's the extra great scientist and engineer points that really get Scotland off to a strong start. Their unique builder improvement is the golf course. This synergizes quite well as it does provide 2 amenities. It also provides +2 gold and +1 culture if adjacent to a city centre. Additional tourism housing later on in the game. However, you can only build 1 per city, and once built it cannot be removed. That being said, it is a very strong builder improvement. The Scottish unique unit is the Highlander, which is an industrial era unit that replaces the Ranger. It is considered a strong reconnaissance unit with +5 combat strength when fighting in hill or forest terrain. However, a strong reconnaissance unit is about as useful as a strong type of cheese when the industrial era comes around. Honestly, build one and don't build a second. Finally, Robert the Bruce's ability allows him to declare a liberation war after gaining the defensive tactics civic, and he doubles production with +2 movement for the first 10 turns after declaring a war of liberation. The double production bonuses and extra movement would be very useful. However, this is a very niche ability and isn't as strong as Australia's. When playing as Scotland, keeping happy and ecstatic citizens through amenities from your golf course and peace, except when liberating, will allow you to get off to a strong scientific start. That's why they are ranked 4th on my list for scientific victory, and absolutely no help in a religious or domination victory. Scotland ranks 36th on my list. Midway through a long silver tier list of civilizations is Ethiopia. Ethiopia's international trade routes grant an extra 0.5 faith for every resource at the origin. Improved resources provide +1 faith for each copy the city owns. Ethiopia can also purchase archaeological museums and archaeologists with faith. These abilities, albeit somewhat useful, aren't strong enough to warrant a higher ability placement on the list. 0.5 faith per resource just won't make a big enough difference. Their unique unit is the Oromo Cavalry, which is a medieval era light cavalry unit, stronger and with greater sight than the Corsair. However, it really isn't strong enough to warrant a high place on the list, as there are many better units out there. Ethiopia's builders have the ability to construct the rock-hewn church. This provides +1 faith. No wait, there's more. +1 faith for every adjacent mountain and hills tile, and provides tourism from faith after a searching flight. It can never ever be destroyed by natural disasters and can only be built on hills or volcanic soil. The rock-hewn church does allow quite a good faith output, especially when placed correctly. However, I don't see why on earth you would ever want to place it on volcanic soil, as those tiles are just way too valuable. The strongest part about playing as Ethiopia is King Menelik's ability. This allows him to receive science and culture equal to 15% of your faith generation in cities that are founded on hills. Units also receive a +4 combat strength when fighting on hills. This quietly is actually an incredibly powerful ability. When playing as Ethiopia, you should never found a city unless it is on a hill, and correct placement of the rock-hewn church will allow your faith generation to go bananas, which in turn you receive 15% back from with science and cultural research. Ethiopia is the top 10 religious civ simply by faith generation, and also can be utilized for a strategic science or cultural victory. All of their abilities add up to a nice 4-star synergy and a 5.3 rating. Next up is another alternate leader civ. It is Greece, this time led by Pericles.
Caire, ho Pericles ton Athenone imi.
Pericles, like Gorgo, is allowed to create the Acropolis district, and as discussed earlier, it will only help you towards a culture victory in a very minor way. It just isn't that good. Pericles also receives Greece's Plato Republic ability, which allows the 1 extra wildcard policy slot in any government, which as talked about earlier is fantastic. The hoplite unit will not quite be as strong when playing as Pericles, as he does not receive the Thermopylae benefit of a +1 combat strength per every militaristic card. However, with its +10 combat strength, it still ranks as a strong top 10 unit. However, the real problem when playing as Pericles is playing as Pericles. He receives a 5% culture per turn bonus for each city-state that you are a suzerain of. Oh wow! Seriously, 5%. You would have to be suzerain of 5 city-states to even really make this noticeable and worthwhile. It just isn't very good, and if you're going to play as Greece, just play as Gorgo. 40th place on the list, as we continue to plow through these silver mediocre civs, Mali.
أنا السلطان موسى سيد مالي.
Mali's unique ability certainly is unique. City centers gain +1 faith and +1 food for each adjacent desert and desert hills tile. Mines receive -1 production, but they receive +4 gold. Mali may purchase commercial hub district buildings with faith. Okay. However, he loses 30% production towards constructing buildings or training units. From what I can see, that is 2 good and 2 bad items in the same ability, and the extra 4 gold from mines is nice, but Mali is a real struggle to play as early on. Mali's unique district is the Suguba, which is a replacement for the commercial hub. This then allows buildings and districts to be 20% cheaper when purchased with gold and faith in the city. It also has some nice gold adjacency bonuses, +2 for each holy site and river. The Suguba is the real reason that you want to play as Mali. You have to prioritize, I would say, building this district, but don't build it, buy it with either faith or gold. The Mendakalu Cavalry is a medieval era unit that replaces the knight. It protects trader units from being plundered, which almost nobody cares about. And combat victories provide gold equal to 100% of that unit's base combat strength. These units can help provide a little bit of gold, however overall they would be a really bad unit. The only saving grace for them is that they replace the knight, which is definitely a unit that you would want to build in high quantity. Finally, Mansa Musa's ability allows international trade routes to gain +1 gold for each and every flat desert tile in the origin city, and he receives a +1 trade capacity each and every time you enter a golden age. This is ranked very low on my list because it is so specific to having desert tiles in the origin city. Even with Mali's bonuses, I just can't get around prioritizing building cities on desert tiles just to receive extra gold, in which Mali already has a ton of. Playing as Mali then is a challenge. All of their abilities synergize really well together. However, the production loss early game will automatically put Mali on the back foot. And when playing on deity level where you're already behind the AI to begin with, this sometimes can make a hole a little bit too big to buy your way out of. Next is another alternate leader, Kublai Khan as Mongolia. When playing as Kublai Khan, you will still want to take advantage of early trade routes, as they provide an extra level of diplomatic visibility, which in turn will create extra combat bonus for your cavalry units in the game. You will still have access to the pretty terrible Ordu unique building that provides extra movement to already high movement cavalry units, and you will also be able to still build the Keshig, which is great for escorting settler units, but only average in actual combat. The real difference when playing as Kublai Khan is that he also will receive his 1 extra economic policy slot in any government, and he will also receive an extra Eureka and Inspiration when establishing a trade post in another civilization city for the first time. This synergizes well with Mongolia's ability, so I can see why they added Kublai Khan as an extra Mongolian leader. However, the real problem with Kublai Khan is that his ability is good, but Genghis Khan's ability is absolutely game-changing that allows him enemy cavalry units. However, the real story with Mongolia is simple. Unless you're going for a diplomatic victory and know that you're going to be at peace with absolutely everybody, and you're generally a boring person, then you should choose the much better and exciting Genghis Khan when playing as Mongolia. 42nd on the list, and the slide has ended for Rome, led by Trajan.
Ave viator, Augusta e Roma imperator Caesar Trajanus sum.
Rome's ability, it allows early cities that you found to start with a trading post and a road to your capital when founded. Your trade routes also earn an extra 1 gold for passing through trading posts in your own cities. Basically, I don't care about any of that. It's just nice to have a road already built each and every time you found a city. It's just nice. The Roman Legion is a unit that was not meant to be nice. It's a classical era melee unit that replaces the swordsman, and on paper, it isn't that good. It certainly isn't as strong as it has been in previous years, mostly because it comes just a little bit late and it is really expensive to build. However, there is a hidden trick when it comes to playing as Rome, which is that each legion comes with a builder ability to remove forests. This can basically mean that you train one Roman legion and then you chop down a forest to immediately produce a second Roman legion, and you continue this until you have the Roman army. The Roman legion can also build forts, but why would you? Why? So why is Rome so far down? Well, their unique district is the Bath. It is a replacement for the Aqueduct district. It is cheaper to build, which is nice. However, aqueducts are something that I generally won't really build a ton of, and it only provides extra housing unless next to a geothermal fissure, in which case it provides a whopping +1 amenity. Honestly, reading the Bath's ability sheet is a long and disappointing road to learning that it really doesn't provide much benefits at all. Finally, Trajan's unique ability is that all cities start with an additional city center building. This is usually a monument building in the ancient era. And this ability is actually quite good, because in order to get a head start in early culture civics, you normally would have to prioritize a monument, which is just hard to do when there's so many more better things to build. The issue with Rome is that all of these abilities just don't synergize well together. Rome can be used as an early head start for a culture game. However, the most fun way to play as Rome, as always, is to find a way to make the Roman legions powerful enough that you can go mid-game domination crazy. 43rd on the list is going to be the quickest Civ ranking so far, as it is India, led by Chandragupta.
Akhand Jambudeepas, Mauryas Adhiraja, Ahang Chandragupto.
As before, India is a very powerful religious Civ. However, if you're going for a religious game, you should play as Gandhi. Guys, let's be honest, Chandragupta would be last if it wasn't for the Varu. The Varu make him still a very powerful leader, but his ability is terrible. He can declare a war of territorial expansion after gaining the military training civic. I have no idea what a war of territorial expansion actually is or why I would want to declare one. But if I find a way to do it, I get +2 movement, and +5 combat strength for the first 10 turns after declaring a war of territorial expansion. Seriously, those are the rewards that I get, that's it. The only reason why I want to play as India is the Varu. And if I'm going to start a game as India, I'm going to play as Gandhi. Because the war weariness penalties against my opposition will at least help me in a domination victory. I just don't understand this leader. 44th on the list, we have another alternate leader, which is England, led by Eleanor.
Pensia svengut alla cor d'Alienu, duchessa d'Aquitania, reina consorts de Franza ed Anglaterra.
Now, as we mentioned before, Eleanor's ability causes havoc amongst other civs, which is just crazy. I'm still not over it. It's crazy. However, the other thing that's crazy is playing England as Eleanor, because why would you synergize that huge cultural advantage with England's Workshop of the World ability, which is all based on production, specifically their love towards military engineers and industrial buildings. It really makes no sense. However, the kicker of why you should never play England as Eleanor is that you lose one of the unique units, and it's not the Sea Dog that you lose. No, you keep that. It's the Red Coat. The favorite part about playing as England is all of a sudden gone away, and I don't care that you still get the Royal Navy Dockyard. I just don't care for England as Eleanor. 45th on the list is France, and specifically led by the magnificent Catherine de Medici.
Je suis Catherine, reine mère de France. Je vous souhaite la bienvenue à mon royaume.
Why does it matter? Oh, it matters. Because the magnificent ability allows improved luxury resources adjacent to theatre square districts or chateaus to receive +2 culture. You may also initiate the court festival project in any city with a theatre square district. Now I know what you're thinking. So, this is a terrible ability. It is a terrible ability. but it is less terrible than the Black Queen ability, which we'll talk about later. This ability at least synergizes with France's ability, which allows 20% production towards medieval, Renaissance, or industrial era wonders, and double tourism from wonders in any era. Okay, so we're going for a cultural victory, right? That means our unique builder ability better be based around culture. Well, it is. You have the chateau, +2 culture and +1 gold, and a bunch of nonsense that creates tourism later on in the game. The final part to a cultural victory is a strong defensive unit, which is what you have in the Garde Impériale. Although not very good because it comes so late game, its +10 combat strength when fighting on your capital's continent will make you very hard to beat once your rivals figure out that you're only steps away from gaining a culture victory. Overall, Catherine's Magnificence ability pushes France into a top 10 culture spot, 8th place, a 4.5 star synergy rating. The real reason why they don't deserve to be higher is because they don't deserve to be higher. Because if you're not going for a cultural victory in France, what are you doing? There's no benefit of being France at all. Next on the list is Ba Trieu, who leads Vietnam.
Ta là Triệu Trinh Nương, nữ tướng quân mặc chiếc áo hoàng bào.
Vietnam's ability right away starts off with a negative, that all land specialty districts can only be built on rainforest, marsh, or woods. They do receive the following yields for each one: +1 culture in woods, +1 science in rainforest, and +1 production in marsh. Woods can be planted earlier in the game. However, being restricted into the placement of districts and only receiving a +1 bonus as payback just sucks. It sucks. It does. It sucks. Vietnam's unique unit is the Voi Chien, which is a medieval era range unit that replaces the crossbowman. They have additional movement and can move after attacking. They're also stronger when defending. Overall, it's a pretty nice unit. However, it doesn't really possess any extra range strength over crossbowmen and will always be ranked much lower than the other civilizations whose unique unit replaces the archer much earlier in the game. So it's not going that great so far for Vietnam, but it does get better. Their unique district is the Than, which replaces the encampment. It provides +2 culture for each adjacent district, and after flight is researched, it creates tourism equal to the culture output. The district does not require population and is cheaper to build. It cannot be built adjacent to the city center and does not provide great people points per turn. Again, some negatives with this district. However, its ranking is pretty healthy in 22nd spot, because although the synergy is horrible that you're getting culture from an encampment district, I actually believe that this is a benefit in this situation. It means that you don't have to build a theater square. This allows you to prioritize other districts and can be actually a great help in the game. Ba Trieu's ability gives her +5 combat strength for units fighting in rainforest, marsh, or woods tiles. This is really useful because for once the +5 combat strength bonus isn't too specific. You get it in rainforest, marsh, or woods tiles. Usually you'll be able to find one of those three. You also get +1 movement if they begin their turn. And the real kicker why this leader ability is ranked 16th, and the best reason to play as Vietnam, is that both of these bonuses are doubled if the tile is in your territory. That can be a +10 combat strength advantage for fighting in a rainforest, a marsh, or woods tile. And with a bunch of extra encampments dotted around, it makes Vietnam incredibly difficult to attack. So they only receive a 0.5 star synergy rating. However, it actually might play into their benefit and could possibly be ranked a little bit low on the list. Now we are entering the unknown, the bronze tier civs. These civs, while not generally bad, really need some significant improvement or focus from the player to provide any real great sort of benefit. So first on the bronze tier civs is the Netherlands, led by Wilhelmina.
Ik ben Wilhelmina, koningin.
The Netherlands ability allows major adjacency bonuses for campus, theatre squares, and industrial zones if next to a river. Hold the phone. They also culture bomb adjacent tiles when completing a harbour, and get 50% production towards dam district and flood barrier buildings, which actually can be quite useful. You know, All being said, this is a top 15 ability. I do like the major adjacency bonuses for campuses, theatre squares, and industrial zones if next to a river. This is very easy to get. There's rivers everywhere. The Netherlands are also able to construct the polder. This has minor bonuses, +1 food, +1 production, and plus 0.5 housing. Really, 0.5? It gets an extra +1 food if adjacent to another polder, and more benefits later on in the game. And water is hugely undervalued in Civilization 6. However, you really need to stack them next to each other to get any great ability, and this sometimes doesn't always work out when you have fish, crabs, whales that you want to take advantage of. It would be pretty good if it just gave me a little bit more. The Netherlands' unique unit is De Zeven Provinciën, which is a Renaissance era unit that replaces the frigate. It's actually very strong. It provides a +7 combat strength when attacking defensible districts, which seems specific, and it is, but the one knock I've always had on the frigate is that it really has no help whatsoever when attacking cities. So the De Zeven Provinciën does help that, but it's a late game naval unit, so let's not get too excited. Finally, Wilhelmina's ability allows your trade routes to your own cities to provide +2 loyalty per turn to the starting city. Trade routes to foreign cities or from foreign cities provide +2 culture to you. The first part of this doesn't really interest me. +2 loyalty from a trade route. You might get 1 extra turn to a city rebelling before it flips. The +2 culture, however, can certainly be useful in heading for a culture game. It isn't game changing, and by no means do the Netherlands rank in the top 10 in any victory types, but I would start to lean culture victory. The real issue is a 1.5 star synergy, as we're getting bonuses for trade routes, harbors, production towards dams. We have a unique unit that can attack cities, and we have a builder ability to construct the polder, which helps with food and housing. It just doesn't really mesh very well, and there's better civs out there for synergy. Tied with the Netherlands, and the second best bronze tier civ, is the Cree, led by Poundmaker. So why are they tied with the Netherlands? Well, it's no great surprise, they're kind of similar. The Cree's ability allows +1 trade route capacity and a free trader with the pottery technology. Unclaimed tiles within 3 of a Cree city come under Cree control when a trader first moves into them. As far as trade route abilities go, this one isn't too bad. Getting a free trader early game with the pottery technology, I can be all part of that. And you do get some tiles early game from sending trader units out as well. The real issue is, I just don't think trader abilities are all that game changing. The unique builder ability is the Mecha Wap, which provides +1 production and +1 housing. Also +1 gold if adjacent to a luxury, and it's getting complicated now. Plus, for every 2 adjacent bonus resources, +1 food, additional gold production. I don't know what any of this means. It's just a bunch of +1s, throw in a bit of food, a bit of production, a bit of gold to try and make something seem better than it is. I'm not buying it. The Mecha Wap isn't very good. The Cree's unique unit I cannot pronounce, but I will try. The Okitiwa. That's what we're going with. This was actually a surprise because on paper it should be terrible. It is an ancient era unit that replaces the Scout. It's a strong reconnaissance unit that starts with 1 free promotion. Scouts are only useful for finding tribal villages and meeting other civilizations early game. However, they are something that you do have to prioritize in the early game build order. The Okitiwa actually makes scouts useful with defending early attacks. So when you combine this with the fact that you start with an extra free 1 promotion, you can actually prioritize building them to build up your army just good enough to where your opponent won't attack you, and if they do, they will be able to hold on. You also get the era score because they're an immediate ancient era unit. Honestly, without them being all that good, they're one of my favorite units. Poundmaker's ability allows all alliance types shared visibility. Your outgoing trade routes grant +1 food to Poundmaker, and trade routes sent to you grant +1 gold to Poundmaker. We're talking about trade routes again. I've lost interest in the Cree. A 4.7 rating. I'm done talking with them now. Just inside the top 50 on the list is Indonesia, led by Gitarja.
Sang Gitarja tak aku, ratuning kalawan pangraksaning Indonesia.
Coast and lake tiles provide a +1 minor adjacency bonus towards most districts and provide +1 amenity towards the entertainment complex. If this was a major adjacency bonus, it would be ranked high, but settling near coast and lake tiles isn't as good as it used to be, and the +1 bonus doesn't really do enough to change my mind. The Indonesian unique unit is the Jong. It's a medieval era unit that replaces the frigate. It allows units in formation to inherit the escort's movement speed and +5 combat strength. The frigate is one of the better naval units in the game, so the Jong should be good. However, it isn't any stronger than the frigate unless fighting in a formation, and even then only receives a +5 bonus, so I have to rank it 43rd on my list. The unique builder ability is the Kampung, and actually it is pretty good. It provides +1 production and +1 housing, and then an additional +1 food for each adjacent fishing boat. The reason why it is so good is that these can be stacked one after another, which means that you're able to get +1 production from all coastal sea tiles, which usually don't provide much at all. The Kampung isn't exactly game changing, but it is one of the better builder abilities in the game. Finally, Gitarja's ability allows naval units to be purchased with faith, +2 faith to city centers that are adjacent to coast or lake tiles, and something about religious units not losing any movement for disembarking, which we don't really care about. These abilities are all based around faith and naval warfare, apparently. Two things that just don't really synergize very well at all. When playing as Indonesia, you do receive more benefits from lake and coastal tiles than other civs, and you do get a minor help towards a religious victory. They just cracked my top 10 in that category. However, unless you're playing on a deliberate naval map, they're just not very strong. 50th on the list is Japan, led by Hojo.
いかがある? 我は日本国の武士道の信仰者。
Japan's ability allows all districts to receive an additional standard adjacency bonus for being adjacent to another district. Adjacency bonuses are very useful in the game. However, changing what basically is a +1 to a +2 doesn't really help you much early game and won't be powerful enough to help you catch up late game in any of the victory types. Hojo's Divine Wind ability allows land units to receive a +5 combat strength when adjacent to coastal tiles, and naval units also receive a +5 combat strength in shallow water tiles. Japan can also build encampment, holy site, and theatre square districts in half the time. And Japan's units do not receive damage from hurricanes, while hurricanes do 100% unit damage to enemy units in Japan's territory. There's actually quite a lot of good points in this ability. The +5 combat strength is nice because it is fairly easy to prioritize coastal tiles in order to receive the bonus. However, I think the real bonus when playing as Japan is the half-price encampment, holy site, and theatre square districts. I wish the campus was involved in there as well, but overall, it's certainly a top 20 ability, and the best part about playing as Japan, which is unfortunate, because I wish the best part about playing as Japan was the samurai. They're a medieval era melee unit that replaces the man-at-arms, and they don't suffer any combat penalties when damaged, but they just come too late in the game and simply aren't powerful enough to dominate your opposition. The samurai can be annoying when playing against Japan, but other than that, the samurai is really showing its age and has fallen down all the way to 39th place on the list. Finally, Japan's unique building is the electronics factory. It provides a very strong +4 culture once electricity is researched, and a solid production bonus to all city centers within 6 tiles. These are very nice, however, they don't synergize very well at all. It is too late game to really make a difference. +4 culture in the late game doesn't really help you towards a cultural victory in any way. You need tourism, which the electronics factory doesn't provide. Overall, it's a pretty terrible building, which again is a shame. Oh boy, a 1-star synergy rating for Japan. The only real benefits come from the half-price holy site and theatre square districts early on in the game, but with no other religious or cultural bonuses, and a unique unit that isn't strong enough to dominate its opponent, Japan is officially left in no man's land. The 8th worst civ in the game, we're going to talk about France for the 4th time today. So we'll make this one nice and quick. It is Catherine de Medici as the Black Queen.
Je suis Catherine, reine mère de France.
Why is this civ so low? Well, it's pretty simple. France is only a mediocre civ, with their best ability being 20% production towards medieval, Renaissance and industrial era wonders, which only ranks 28th. Add that to now Catherine's Black Queen ability, the Flying Squadron, which ranks in 50th place. She has one level of diplomatic visibility greater than normal with every civilization that she's met. She receives a free spy, an extra spy capacity with the castle's technology, and all spies start as agents with a free promotion. I did move France under the Black Queen into 4th place for a diplomatic victory because of the higher diplomatic visibility. However, that doesn't really help her ranking very much because almost any civ can win a diplomatic victory, so I didn't allow that to make a huge difference. If you're going to play as France, you may as well play as the other Catherine and go for a cultural victory, or play as Eleanor and easily win a cultural victory. Don't play as the Black Queen. 7th from bottom on the list is Grand Colombia, led by Simón Bolívar.
Yo, el presidente Simón Bolívar, os da la bienvenida a la Gran Colombia.
This came as a bit of a surprise, but I'll explain the reasons why. Simón Bolívar earns a Comandante General when the game enters a new era. This is a special type of great person, each one with unique abilities, including a passive effect and a retire effect. While they can be useful at times, you do only receive, how many eras are there in the game? 5 or 6 in total, and sometimes we'll have to wait 100 turns before receiving the next one. It's an interesting, cool ability, but I certainly can't rank it that high. I put it in the low 30s on my list. Their unique unit, the Lanero, is a later game unit that replaces the cavalry. It has a low maintenance cost and +2 combat strength for each and every adjacent Lanero. It does fully heal when in the range of a Comandante General if the General activates its retire ability. Hang on, I'm going to ignore that last part because if I'm only using a Comandante General, which I only get 5 of in the game, to simply heal a unit and then he retires? Don't do that, kids. That's such a waste. I'm going to pretend like that didn't happen. The only real bonus here is the +2 combat strength for each and every adjacent Lanero, which I guess can be nice because they do stack up. The problem is the Lanero isn't really stronger than the cavalry that it replaces, so unless you have at least 3 of them adjacent to each other, you're not really getting any benefit from it. It is a weaker unit in the game. Gran Colombia's ability is, it's pretty bad. +1 movement to all units, and promoting a unit does not end the unit's turn. Wah wah. That's all I get? +1 movement? It might help me settle a few cities a little bit quicker, but come on, it's not a strong ability. And finally is the unique builder ability, the Hacienda. These provide +2 gold, +1 production, and +0.5 housing. Why did they do 0.5? It also provides +1 food for every 2 adjacent plantations, so basically another 0.5 of food. So ignoring the food and housing, it provides +2 gold and +2 production if adjacent to another 2 haciendas. So these can be stacked. However, the benefits aren't really strong enough for me to use so many tiles stacking these haciendas. There are many benefits to it, but some of them are so specific, I ranked it 31st on the list. Overall, Colombia synergizes quite well towards a domination victory, earning great generals, building the haciendas which help with production, and +1 movement, but it's not enough to bump it into a top 10 or 15 domination civ, and it ranks near the bottom in every other type of victory. Colombia absolutely 100% deserves to be this low on the list in my opinion. 6th worst civ on the list is Gaul.
Papon pisesio tiros galation ici.
Gaul's unique ability allows mines to provide a minor, there's that word again, minor, adjacency bonus for all districts. They also culture bomb unknown territory and receive +1 culture. But I'm not finished. Specialty districts do not receive a minor adjacency bonus for being adjacent to another district, and these districts cannot be built adjacent to the city center. So that completely cancels out the first part for mines, in my opinion. And receiving +1 culture from mines isn't good enough to cancel out the huge restriction on placing districts. Two of these abilities completely contradict themselves. Somehow it's not the worst ability in the game, but it's damn near close. What is the worst in the game is Gaul's unique unit, the Gaesate. How is this unit last? It's an early game unit that replaces the warrior. The reason is simple. One of the things that you want to always do early game is build usually at least 3 warriors to stop the AI from declaring an early war. Well, the Gaesate costs so much more to build than the warrior that I believe it's actually not as good as the unit it's replacing. The other thing wrong with this unit, it receives a +10 combat strength when fighting against units with a higher base combat strength. Okay, but the warrior is the strongest early game unit, so you will not receive that +10 combat strength when fighting early game. All it does is make them slightly harder to destroy when other civs get horsemen or chariots. It sounds great, but you'll never use that +10 combat strength in a way that will help you with early game domination. And just way too expensive. Let's move on to the Oppidum, which is a replacement district for the industrial zone. This is a defensible district with a range attack, and when the first Oppidum is constructed, the apprenticeship technology is unlocked. It's also cheaper and available earlier than the industrial zone. I'm going to give Gaul its due here. The Oppidum is a pretty decent district. Industrial zones can help you win almost any victory with the increased production, and getting it earlier and cheaper is a big bonus. The fact that this district is defensible with a range attack is interesting, and I guess can be pretty cool when defending. It also provides +2 production from adjacent quarries and strategic resources. It's a pretty good district. It's not as good as the Hansa, which also replaces the industrial zone, so I put it 21st on the list. Ambiorix's ability allows Gaul to gain 20% of the unit's cost when trained in culture. Melee, anti-cavalry, and range units also receive +2 combat strength for each and every adjacent unit. Again, there's actually some good in here. Receiving free culture for building military units, sure, I'll take it, although it doesn't really synergize that well. The real bonus though is the +2 combat strength for each and every adjacent unit throughout the game. But when we put all of this together, Gaul is ranked low because of its 1-star synergy rating. Any bonuses that it has towards production or combat strength that help with the domination victory are almost completely cancelled out by the horrific early game unit that is way too expensive. Here we go. Number 5, the 5th worst civ in the game, Poland.
Spotkanie przez Boga błogosławione. Pewnam tego.
Poland's Golden Liberty ability allows you to culture bomb adjacent tiles when completing an encampment or a fort. It also allows 1 military policy slot in the government to be converted to a wildcard slot. Free policy slots, I'm always on board with. Improved policy slots, I'm less on board with. But I will rank it mid-pack just on that ability alone, because culture bombing adjacent tiles when completing encampments or forts isn't enough to even get me up in the morning. Poland's unique unit is the Winged Hussar. It is a Renaissance era unit that replaces the Cuirassier. This unit physically pushes defending enemy units back from their hex in any battle where they score more damage. If the defender cannot retreat, they suffer additional damage. Okay, it sounds pretty cool. There is a few flaws, however. The Winged Hussar that replaces the Cuirassier is no stronger than the Cuirassier. You're basing the entire value on being able to push enemies back, which is a cool gimmick, but the winged feathers do not fool me. It's a mediocre cavalry unit. So Poland's unique building is the Sukienis, I think. International trade routes from the city gain +2 production. Domestic trade routes gain +4 gold. Gaining 2 production can be nice. And 4 gold, sure, I'll take it. But you're not going to get this building until at least the Renaissance era. So it's not really going to help you that much early game. It's just not a game changer. It's actually ranked very low at 48th on the list. So King Jadwiga, it's all up to your unique ability. And oh boy, she allows Poland's majority religion to become dominant in cities that lose a tile to a Polish culture bomb. Holy sites gain major faith adjacency bonuses from encampments. What? From encampments? Okay. All relics provide bonus faith, culture, and gold. The final part of this ability I love, but the first part of this ability I hate. It can sound nice, however the culture bomb comes from building an encampment or a fort. It seems like a lot of work to build an encampment to specifically culture bomb my next door neighbor just so their city becomes my majority religion. Why can I not just build a missionary or an apostle? Press that magic button a few times and voila! It's also Poland's majority religion that is spread and not necessarily Poland's founded religion. That being said, Poland manages to just crack the top 10 in a religious victory. Holy sites gaining major faith adjacency bonuses from encampments allows you to prioritize religion even when either defending or going for a domination victory. I was a bit surprised it ranked this low on the list, but coming to think of it, there's not really anything that makes me spill my tea. The final bronze tier civ and the 4th worst civ in the game is Babylon. Babylon's unique ability is unique, that's for sure. Eurekas provide all of the science for technologies, however they lose 50% science per turn. Now let me say this correctly. When Hammurabi is played correctly and strategically, gaining all of the science instead of just a Eureka can just about compensate for the fact that you lose 50% science per turn. But the reason why this ranks 35th on the list and fairly low is because it's a lot of work just to overcome a huge restriction to begin the game. Babylon's unique unit is available right away, the Sebum Kibiton. This is a strange unit because it is an ancient era melee unit that is pretty weak, however provides a plus 17 combat strength against heavy and light cavalry promotion classes. It does have 3 movement and 3 sight. Think of this unit more like an improved scout that just so happens to be excellent against horses. It's not going to help you win any domination victories early game because I believe it is a little bit more expensive to build as well, which I hate expensive early game units. However, it does have a benefit, which is the most powerful classical era units are often horses, and the plus 17 combat strength allows the Sebum Kibitum to stick around for an extra era before needing to replace it. We'll put it right in the mid-pack. Babylon's unique building is the Palgum, and it is atrociously bad. It provides plus 1 housing and plus 2 production. Freshwater tiles receive plus 1 food. The city must be adjacent to a river to build it because it is a replacement for the watermill. Oh, holy moly! It's a watermill that gives an extra production. Great. Wonderful. Game changing, right, guys? I know. I'm just gonna go and move on. Finally, Hammurabi's ability gives Babylon the lowest production cost building in each district every time the district is constructed. That's really good. Getting a free shrine every time I build a holy site? Wait. No, I misread it. You only get the building the first time that the district is constructed. Oh, that makes it not very good. You always know when an ability isn't that strong when it starts talking about gaining envoys at the end of it. It's kind of like the throw-in thing that they like to do. Okay, so what does this mean? I get a free shrine. I get a free library, which is nice. I get a free amphitheater. Don't really care about that. No. I think I got the ranking spot on, 41st. Babylon is a fun, different way to play the game, especially for experienced users of Civ 6 who might be looking for a different challenge several years into the game. But if you're not going for a science victory, there really is no benefit of playing as Babylon. And just note that you start off with a 50% science loss at the beginning of the game. If that's not a contradiction, I don't know what is. That concludes the end of the bronze tier civs and leaves us with 3 civs left. What color comes after bronze? Let's just go with bad. These 3 civs, I believe, are the only really bad civs in the game. So without further ado, the 56th best civ in the game is Norway, led by Harald Hardrada.
Harald Sigurðarson stendur fyrir þér.
Harald allows coastal raiding for all naval melee units and 50% production towards these naval melee units. He receives science and pillaging from coastal raiding mines in addition to gold, whilst pillaging coastal quarries, pastures, plantations and camps provide culture. I do like that Norway's abilities are early game. I don't like that you have to focus so much attention on early naval melee units, but you do receive them at half price. Harald's unique unit is the Viking longship. And you know what? I think it's a pretty good unit. I think the Viking longship gets a bit of a hard rating from a lot of people, but galleys are quite powerful early game, especially at attacking cities, and can actually get you off on quite a strong start when it comes to a domination victory and being allowed to capture civilians if the enemy just happens to leave a few lying by the coastline. I'm going to rank it probably the highest it's ever been ranked, 23rd on the list. The Vikings also receive a second unique unit, the Berserker. This is a medieval era unit that replaces the man-at-arms, and well, back down to earth again. Oh, it's woeful. It receives extra movement if it starts in the enemy territory, which is very specific. Okay, plus 10 combat strength when attacking. That can actually be pretty useful, but it receives a minus 5 combat strength when defending. Ah, Berserker, you giveth some and you taketh away. Honestly, let's just say it how it is. The Berserker is no bueno. The Vikings' unique building is the Stave Church. It is required to purchase apostles and inquisitors, so it's a replacement of the temple. Holy site districts gain an additional +1 adjacency bonus from woods, and +1 production to each coastal resource tile in the city. +1 100 times can be nice, but it's not enough to distract me from the fact that it is a temple, and temples aren't exactly very game-changing. Finally, Norway's unique ability allows them to enter ocean tiles very early after researching shipbuilding. Naval melee units heal in neutral territory, and units ignore additional movement costs for embarking and disembarking. Stop talking about embarking and disembarking, nobody cares. I can't remember playing a game thinking, oh, I wish I didn't have to disembark. All this ability gives you is the ability to heal in neutral territory for naval units. If you want to be able to go into ocean tiles early game, play as the Maori, not as Norway. Norway is best served as an early domination civ with the Viking longships, but it's going to be difficult to complete the entire domination because their abilities run out very quickly in the game. Next on the list, and the second worst civ in the game, is Inca, led by Pachacuti.
Pachacuti Inca Yupanki Chimpampica Chikanki.
The Inca have the ability to construct the terrace farm. This must be built on hills. It adds +1 food for every adjacent 2 terrace farms and +1 food for each adjacent mountain tile. You do gain 2 production for adjacent aqueducts and +1 production for adjacent fresh water. The terrace farm actually look really cool when you load them up next to each other near mountains, and then maybe you get Machu Picchu. Oh, you have a nice looking civ. But it's not that great. Anything that's based solely around food in Civ 6 is never going to be rated that high. The Inca's ability next allows citizens to work mountain tiles. Mountains provide +2 production and +1 food for each adjacent terrace farm. We know that. We just talked about that. Okay, so citizens can work mountain tiles. Meh. It's cool and useful if you're surrounded by the Andes. I can leave this ability at home. The Inca's unique unit is the Warakak. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's a medieval era unit that replaces the skirmisher. Oh boy, I don't think I've ever built a skirmisher. It's stronger at ranged combat than the skirmisher, and allows +1 additional attack per turn. The fact that it can attack twice, if not all of its movement points used up, is pretty cool, but it's a skirmisher. I don't really build those very often. Finally, Pachacuti's ability, the Quipak Nan, is the worst of them all. Domestic trade routes gain +1 food again, for every mountain again, tile in the origin city. You gain the Quipak Nan improvement when foreign trade civic is discovered. Ooh, sounds interesting. So what is the Quipak Nan? It acts as a movement portal on a mountain range, allowing units to move into it and exit from another portal at the movement cost of 2 per turn. I know what this is. It's a tunnel. It's an earlier version of the tunnel. Oh, Pachacuti, what are you doing to me, man? I don't care about tunnels. So there's a reason why the Emperor ranks so low. They can grow quickly and be pretty decent if hemmed in by a mountain range. But if they're near no mountains or few mountains, you're not exactly gonna go take over the world with the skirmisher. And that is why it's ranked 57th on the list. So that just leaves one more civ on the list. The worst civ in Civilization 6 to start a game as is Tamar of Georgia. Georgia's unique ability is that when making dedications at the beginning of a golden age or heroic age, you receive the normal age bonus towards improving era score in addition to the other bonus. This does help you try to stack golden era after golden era, which I suppose can be useful when it comes to loyalty, as the bonuses are typically nice but not that powerful. And I like that they threw in right at the end plus 50% production towards defensive buildings. That has nothing to do with era score or golden ages or loyalty, in fact, but we'll throw it in there as well. There's just enough there to make this a useful ability. I don't love it, guess I don't hate it. It's the 42nd ability on my list. The Georgia's unique building is the Tusiki. It has lower production cost and higher outer defenses than the Renaissance walls. It provides +3 tourism after advancing to the conservation civic. But wait, don't Renaissance walls also provide +3 tourism? Pretty sure that they do. So that's a moot point. The big problem with this building is it is a replacement for the Renaissance walls and not ancient walls. If you received the +4 faith from ancient walls, it would be a pretty good building. But Renaissance walls are one of the things that really shouldn't be prioritized at any point in the game. So I'm not going to talk about Renaissance walls anymore. Georgia's unique unit is the Kevser. This is a medieval era unit that replaces the man-at-arms. It has a +7 combat strength when fighting in hill terrains and no movement penalties for hills. The big problem with the Kevser is it's not any stronger than the man-at-arms to begin with. So you have to be fighting in hills to receive any type of a bonus. And if you look at other unique units in the game, you have hoplites at +10. Here you only get +7, and specifically you have to be in hills. The Kevser isn't a good unit. Finally, Tamar's ability recently received a buff in the latest update, and thank God, because it needed it. Georgia was terrible without the buff. So what did they give us? They gave us combat victories provide faith equal to 50% of the combat strength of the defeated unit. Oh, that's all they gave us? I actually preferred the last ability. I don't remember what it was because it was terrible. Getting a little bit of extra faith from defeating units, that means I have to be at war with people. When going for a religious victory, I don't necessarily need to be at war with them. And the real reason that you know that this ability is terrible, we leaked it earlier. Anytime an ability sucks, they start talking about envoys at the end of it. This one is the cream of the crop. Each envoy you send to a city-state of your majority religion counts as 2. This is so specific and pointless. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about Georgia anymore. They don't actually rank the lowest in anything, but the highest ranked ability that they have is 42nd. If you start a game as Georgia and you don't go for a religious victory, you pretty much have no benefits whatsoever the entire game. How they released the patch and pretty much made them worse, I'm not quite sure. This civ is by far the worst civ in the game. It was before the update, it is after the update. They're terrible, terrible! That's all I have for you guys. Hope you enjoyed the list. Feel free to subscribe and leave comments. What do you agree with? What maybe don't you agree with? I certainly am up for a debate. But that's my reasonings behind the civs. And remember, kids, don't start a game as Georgia. For the love of God, just don't do it.